So let's go over these questions about indescribable. What is the purpose of the heavens, according to Louis Buglio in this video? Yes. It's telling the glory of God. To declare the glory of God is the purpose of the heavens. What is the name of the telescope that is in space? Yes. The Hubble Space Telescope, yeah, named after Edwin Hubble, who was an astronomer. What's the farthest thing from Earth that it is seen, the Hubble is seen? Yes. The Whirlpool Galaxy, and Hallie, how far is that from us? 31 million light years away. So 31 million times however many trillion miles is a light year. It's that many light years away, yes. Or miles. What? Edwin Hubble. Hubbel. Oh, Edwin, Edwin. And then what is at the center of that galaxy? That X structure, right, that looks something like a cross, or close to it. And what does Louis say that structure is? Yes, ma'am. Okay, that God is powerful. What are you going to say, Katie? Yeah, it's declaring God's glory, grace, and forgiveness. It's grace everywhere. It's love everywhere in the universe. And it's there, like everything else in space, to declare the glory of God. That's, I can't remember which psalm it is, but the heavens declare the glory of God. It might be Psalm 8. But, that's what the heavens are doing. How does Louis connect the cross with what has been discovered in the universe? He says the last thing, he says one last picture, and we're going to go far out. We're going to go even farther out. And kind of what does he mean by that? How is a picture of Jesus or a drawing of Jesus on the cross even more far out than what the story? Yeah.
Is he trying to say that?
His love, his grace extends even farther out. It extends it infinitely. So it's even more amazing than what we see in the heavens. But then there's another connection that is made, because who created all those pictures? Not the pictures, but the things in them. God, but more specifically, if you remember John 1, Jesus called him the star breather. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So all of that was created by Jesus. So Louis uses this term astronomical grace. What do you think he meant by that? Hey, Landon. Yeah. Read that first part again.
God's grace and mercy extended it.
And even beyond that, right? Yeah. So yeah, God's grace is beyond anything in the heavens, beyond all of the heavens. It's higher, it's wider. It talks about how wide and high and deep is the love of God in Scripture, and it's infinitely high and infinitely wide infinitely. That's astronomical grace. Again, we said, it's grace everywhere, it's love everywhere. So what's something that this video taught you? What did you learn? What was something you learned in the video? Yeah, I had never heard of the galaxy. Somebody else. Brandon?
That's it's
Yeah, yeah. Who knew that pulsar was making sound? What else? Um,
I just learned that God has a massive imagination to be able to think of all of the stars and how He made them all different
I think my favorite one is probably just my favorite one. Just crazy. Anything else that you learned? What's an adjective you would use to describe the video? Just throw them out. What? Educational. Another one. Kind of. Overwhelmed. I, in, um, in the other class, and I think it might have been an answer to one of the things, but one of the students talked about feeling insignificant. Uh, and I think that that's true. You think of something that's 31 million light years away, and I don't even know, it's got to be some sort of what that would be. Um, and we can feel how huge everything is. We can uh, feel pretty insignificant. And yet, God has chosen to grace us with grace. If I saw a crumpled piece of paper on the floor, what do you think would be my reaction?
Pick it up and throw it away.
Just pick it up and throw it away. It's insignificant. It's somebody didn't even want it. It's a crumpled piece of paper. But what if I decided to open that crumpled? Years ago, gosh, I was probably married, but many years ago, we were at church. At that time, I went to church. And I was speaking, and I don't remember what I was talking about, but it was for what they called a minute for mission. So I might have been talking about BBS that I led or something, but something that was going on in the church. And it was like 3 minutes long. And in the pews, on the backs of the pews, there were these little prayer things that you could ask for prayer. And when I sat down, my father handed me, and on it, he had written, um, I'm very proud of you, and I love you very much. And I kept that. Um, um, and eventually, it made my way into my Bible. And I think it's Psalm 148. It's a passage that talks about the love of a father. and it's precious to me. See his handwriting and those words. And if that's what was crumpled up, do you think I'd pick it up? Straighten it out, put it back where it belongs. We are insignificant. But God has chosen us because of his love for us, because we're his creation, and he loves us. And so that gives us warmth. But uh, we need to, I guess what I'm saying is that we understand both our insignificance and the great worth, the great significance. It's kind of a paradox, but it's true. So, any other adjectives you would use to describe? Thumbs up or down? Should trying to do mostly thumbs up. Thumbs down. Okay, good. Thank you. I'm going to keep if you would please, oh, no. If you would please open up to, I don't know where we were, 74, 75, somewhere around there. And I'll finish. Yes.
Let's go with it. I know you would.
Anybody remember where we left off?
75.
So had I read everything that had a beginning and had a cause? I'll tell you what, I'll just stop or start at the very bottom of 74. Cosmological argument, the beginning of the end for atheism. Don't be put off by the technical sounding name. Cosmological comes from the Greek word cosmos, which means world or universe. That is, the cosmological argument is the argument from the beginning of the universe. If the universe had a beginning, then the universe had a cause. In logical form, the argument goes like this. So this is a logical argument, like we've been talking about. That's one of the reasons I taught that to you, so that you can understand what a logical argument is. Gentlemen, I hope that you can see the words on the paper with your heads on the table. But make sure you can. Number one, everything that had a beginning had a cause. The universe had a beginning. Therefore, the universe had a cause. So if 1 is true and 2 is true, and 3 has to be true. This is a valid argument. If everything that had a beginning had a cause, and if the universe had a beginning, then it follows that the universe had a cause. But are those things true? So that's what we're going to talk about next. As we showed in the last chapter, for an argument to be true, it has to be logically valid, and its premises must be true. This is a valid argument, but are the premises true? Let's take a look at the premises. Premise 1, everything that had a beginning had a cause. That is the law of causality, which is the fundamental principle of science. Without the law of causality, science is impossible. In fact, Francis Bacon, the father of modern science, said true knowledge is knowledge by causes. In other words, science is the search for causes. That's what scientists do. They try to discover what caused what. If there's one thing we've observed about the universe, it's that things don't happen without a cause. When a man is driving down the street, a car never appears in front of his car out of nowhere, with no driver or no cause. We have a police officer who has heard this, but it's just not true. There's always a driver or some other cause behind that car appearing. Even the great skeptic David Hume could not deny the law of causality. He wrote, "I never asserted so absurd a proposition as that something could arise without a cause." In fact, to deny the law of causality is to deny rationality. The very process of rational thinking requires us to put together thoughts, the causes, and that result in conclusions, the effects. So if anyone ever tells you he doesn't believe in the law of causality, simply ask that person what caused you to come to that conclusion. So number one is absolutely true. It is the foundation of science. Everything that had a beginning had a cause. It's the law of causality in science. Since the law of causality is well established and undeniable, premise one is true. What about premise two? Did the universe have a beginning? If not, then no cause was needed. If so, then the universe must have had a cause. Until about the time of Einstein, atheists could comfort themselves with the belief that the universe is eternal and thus did not need a cause. But since then, 5 lines of scientific evidence have been discovered that prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the universe did indeed have a beginning. That beginning was what scientists now call the Big Bang. The Big Bang evidence can easily be remembered by the acronym SURGE. Now, we're not going to get into that yet. We will. But for now, let's look at these questions in your book. So, chapter 3, the equip, beginning on page 24. We'll get what we could get done here, and we'll finish it tomorrow. What's so important about Einstein's discovery of general relativity? Why is that important? Hannah? Yeah, so it proved that our universe is not eternal. It hasn't always been. There was a time when it was not, but rather it had a beginning. It is mathematical proof of the beginning of the universe. Nobody denies that. There's nobody, unless they're woefully uneducated, that believes that the universe is eternal because of Einstein's theory of general relativity. Now, what are some proofs in support of general relativity? Let me ask you this first. What did Einstein use to come up with the theory of general relativity? Mathematical calculations. Even his so-called fudge factor, his adjustment, is proof, because it's incorrect, is proof of the theory of general relativity, and therefore the beginning of the universe. Yes. Yep. Yep. So Einstein's mathematical equations and calculations are one of the proofs. We also read about Edwin Hubble. Let's go back. We also read about Arthur Eddington. What did Arthur Eddington do to prove the beginning of the universe? Eddington did an experiment during a solar eclipse, and he used both math and science to show that the Earth is, not the Earth, the universe is expanding. The universe is moving. Yes. Arthur Eddington, Eddington. So Eddington had this theory based on math and science that the universe was expanding. And then Edwin Hubble looked in his telescope on Mount Wilson, and what did he find? Do you know anything?
You said the universe is expanding.
Yes, based on his experiments during the solar eclipse. And then what did Hubble observe? Yes, Hannah. Yeah. So through his telescope, that there was a red shift in the light that Hubble discovered. That would mean that the universe was expanding, that the universe was moving out, and it was moving out from a single point in the distant past. So notice we're not saying that creation is true because of the Bible. We're saying that the math and the science are proving that the universe had a beginning. And if it had a beginning, it had a cause. Therefore, the universe had a cause. We're not saying it's God yet. We will. But we have to start here. The universe had a cause. We'll pick up here tomorrow and finish these up and then move forward. We'll have to probably go a little bit quicker. So that we get caught up with the other class. Hi, Angela.